everyone. This is not my house, just saying I'm not that rich. I'm house sitting, and I decided to film a video because it's been a while since I've planned any video. It's been like a whole last 6 months, so sorry for the hiatus. Vet school has been busy, and just moving in general has been a lot. Bought a car, a lot of life updates, and a lot of changes in my life, so thank you. So welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to talk about animal handling experience hours and how you get them before you apply for vet school, because a lot of vet schools require animal handling and clinical experience. So I'm going to talk through how do you apply for it and how do you even get yes. Alright, this is going to be a chaotic video. You might not be able to see my face at all. Yes, cat? What do you want? Alright, you need to move. I need to film a video. Okay, where was I? We're gonna be talking about animal experience hours. How do you get them before you apply to vet school, and the importance of having shadowing experience and animal handling experiences. Before I start off on the actual bulk of the main video, I'm sure you have questions like, oh, how do I get a experience in the first place? How do I log the hours? And how do I make things official when you apply for vet school? Because obviously a lot of the hours, people don't keep track of it for you. You have to keep track of it yourself. Yeah, like how do I let people know that, hey, this is legit, I did this number of hours with this particular clinic, and I'm not lying on my CV. Basically that. Alrighty, so obtaining animal handling experience opportunities obviously is a lot harder in Singapore because we are so small, and there's only this amount of animal organizations and vet clinics that we could choose from. And the fact that a lot of the organizations, they require you to be 16 and above to even apply for the experience. The cutoff age for volunteering is just too short, and we only have 2 to 3 years before we start applying for vet school for most people, for most cases. So within that 2 to 3 years, how do you get this many hours of experience? And that's why I'm going to talk about it in this video. I'm going to go through a theory portion of it and then the practical portion, which is basically my experience. Alrighty, firstly is to look at your first choice of vet school and their requirements of animal handling experience. Some of them don't require any at all, and some have extensive lists, like the University of Sydney. When I was applying, they had a full list of all the animals that they want students to have experience with, if that makes sense. If you're applying for undergrad vet school, which are vet school courses generally that are 5 to 6 years long, they require less hours and more hours in animal husbandry and handling. Whereas if you're applying for postgrad vet school, they require a lot more clinical hours. That means hours spent in the vet clinic and actually learning how to restrain animals. And if you're applying for postgrad vet school, it's a lot more competitive. Applicants would have thousands of hours clocked in, so you would have to take that into consideration if you're applying for postgrad veterinary school. The second step is to actually start applying, and I learned from my voice acting phase in high school that expect rejection but always prepare for success. The point I want to get across is that even though vet clinics might not have a shadowing page section that they say, oh, they're open to shadowing or open for students to come in to shadow a vet or to help out in a clinic, that's fine, just email them. You never know what might happen, and most of the time they won't have that page. And I honestly got my vet clinic experience through a vet clinic that didn't have that page, and I just emailed to their general admin email, and they got back to me and they're like, hey, yeah, we are open for JC students to come in and to have a quick shadow. I end up staying a month. And it's also best to supplement it immediately with a CV or resume that you might have. You don't have to state that, oh, you have animal experience. You can just simply say that, oh, I'm a high school student, I'm a JC student, I'm a poly student, I'm an IB student looking to get into vet school. Here are my grades, achievements, what I've done, accomplished in school, things like that, and why I want to shadow in your clinic. Like, why is the clinic so special? Why I am considering vet school, and things like that to supplement your application, basically. So the first impression would be the most important impression. I'm sure you've heard it thrown around, but yeah, vet clinics will get a rough idea of who you are through your CV and your first email to them. So make it a good impression, alright? If there's no impression, if it's just a generic email with no personality, the clinics will probably skim through and like answer the other emails that are more urgent. Don't be too hard on yourself if you really can't get any experience. It really is tough. But yeah, so email every clinic or shelter or animal organization with your CV. Expect that they might not reply at all, or they will just reject you straight up. Yeah, that's the sad reality when applying for shadowing experiences. Just a disclaimer, if you're going to email any vet clinics or any animal organization on volunteering, please email them politely. You're not entitled to have a shadowing experience thing with them. They fully have the right to say no. So just keep that in mind. When you're applying for shadowing experience and animal experiences, yeah, do this with a proactive attitude. Do it yourself. That's really important. Don't depend on your parents anymore. You're going to be an adult soon. Apply for it yourself. If you are planning to ask your parents to help you apply, please reconsider applying to all these places yourself. If a clinic sees that you're not really independent and can't really hold your own, they won't really want you shadowing as well, because the clinic's already busy enough, and if they are taking on a student that cannot function by themselves and like be proactive, it's gonna be very hard for them to teach you anything, and it's gonna be a lose-lose for everyone. So yeah, I really would ask you to reconsider applying for these places yourself. Yeah. Also, logging in the hours once you secure a spot. Basically, for me, I use the spreadsheet to log in the hours every day. Once I completed a shift, I would log in, hey, I did 8.5 hours, for example, in SPCA. What did I do in that shift? That is the most important. What have I done? What have I learned? What new procedures have I witnessed? I got the spreadsheet off of a vet blog 5 years ago. And I think I still have the link, so I'll link it in the description as well, it's so helpful. It has formulas put in so that the total hours is already calculated for you once you plug in the numbers. And through this spreadsheet, I'm going to tackle the other question, which is how to make things official. How do I make the experience official? How do I tell the vet school that, hey, this experience is legit, like people have signed off on this, I actually had the experience, I'm not lying to you. So I used the spreadsheet and I sent it to the clinics after my shadowing stint was done. Sent it to them as proof of what I learned and the hours I've completed, and then I just asked them if it was possible. Sometimes it's not possible to sign off on the spreadsheet or type a letter that says, oh, Jasmine has completed 32 hours in this clinic, and then sign off with the clinic manager or the vet's signature with the clinic's letterhead or something. So yeah, just ask. Most of the time, before I start off on the practical aspect on how I actually got my experience, hi Scout. Before I start off on that, just to let you know, please approach this before I start off, please approach applying for clinics and during the actual shadowing experience with a proactive and learning attitude, with a growth mindset that you're here to learn. You're not here to show off. You're not here to be anxious. I was like that. So if I could tell myself back in J1, you're at a clinic to learn, you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna learn through these mistakes, and they're fine. You turn out fine. Don't make assumptions. That's the most important one. Don't make assumptions. Always ask if you're not sure. But yeah, always have a growth mindset that you're here to learn, and not to impress anyone. Welcome to the practical portion of the video. I'm dressed in my farm placement fit. In this beautiful property that I am house sitting. Yeah, let's get to it. There may be brief disturbances of dogs playing around. My first animal experience that I was logged in was in J1, the start of J1, I think. Through most of these experiences, I actually had to go out of my way, be proactive in searching for experiences, for animal handling experiences and wildlife experiences. I actually had a bit of anxiety in J1. Instead of calling people, I actually emailed most of them. I emailed a lot of vet clinics, tons of them. Many which didn't reply. Yeah, so I emailed a lot of them actually during class in JC. during my JC tutorials. Use University of Sydney's animal experience list as a reference of what kind of animal experience I need to apply for vet school. So I could link it, you can see like the template here, I could link it in the link if I could find it again. When I first saw the list, I was actually a bit concerned that they require sheep handling, cattle handling skills, which, you know, Singapore doesn't have any sheep or cattle openly for us to try to handle and herd, you know. But my worries were put at ease when I attended University of Edinburgh's information session back in J1. I remember that was before COVID, so it was held at Suntec City, and the admissions team actually came down and explained to us like what they're looking out for, what makes the ideal applicant. And yeah, they said that they understand that Singapore students and a lot of Southeast Asian students don't have farms readily accessible to them, so sheep and cattle handling is really just impossible to get unless you're willing to pay to go overseas and do whatever. But you know, not everyone is able to afford that. So they said that yeah, they do take that into consideration, and that won't be like a main deciding factor basically. That put my worries at ease, so I just went on to get small animal handling experiences and some wildlife experience because that was available in Singapore. How I went about approaching my animal experience organizations was firstly emailing. I just cold emailed like 20 vet clinics. I only ended up getting like 1 or 2 responses that were like, maybe we'll consider you. The first one was Wildlife Reserve Singapore's Conservation Ambassador Hours. I basically gave tours for the Singapore Zoo's guests around the exhibit called Fragile Forest, which it's a lovely exhibit. I learned a lot about animals as well. That opportunity also helped me overcome a lot of my social anxiety and approach strangers. And the next one I got was actually a research volunteer role in Singapore Zoo. I got that through the email chain. It was a behavioral research, so I put in like 20-30 hours worth of just staring at the animal in an enclosure and charting out when they exhibit stereotypical behavior or not in 15-minute intervals for 30 hours. That was an experience of a lifetime. I found a new favorite animal, which is the Koimandi, but otherwise I wouldn't repeat that experience. I learned what researchers actually do, which is fun, and finally, the last experience that made me want to go into vet school was actually a volunteering stint in SPCA's vet clinic. I think I was the first volunteer in 2018 when their clinic first soft launched. I emailed into SPCA and asked whether there's spots. I'm not sure whether they take in any students now because there's a high demand and a lot of vet students are coming in actually to get clinical experience. So I'm sorry SPCA if you get a lot of emails suddenly from students. The vets there that were working at the time was, I think, Dr. Angeline and Dr. Shao, who were the best mentors. I learned so much from them. They gave so much advice as well. And yeah, I wouldn't say that the experience was just highs and fun and good times. I definitely had a lot of lows and existential crises. I don't know whether vet is for me. Ultimately, what made me decide that like vet school is what I want, because I really cannot imagine myself doing anything else. And there's so much options for vet. Recently went up to the cattle station. If you follow my Instagram, shameless plug. Went up to a cattle ranch in Northern Australia. Fell in love with station life. I fell in love with working with cattle. So that is, I might be working with cattle in the future. I might not be working with dogs and cats. So who knows, like cows. I love cows now. So what was the point again? As SPCA, I volunteered there. Fun times shaped my decision on going to vet school. Learned a lot of skills and knowledge there. Whenever like some of my juniors would ask me, what should I do to my vet school portfolio? And cannot emphasize it enough. It's not about how good your portfolio looks, as much as that is also important. It's about your experiences. Like, do you actually like the concept of being a vet, or do you just have like a flowery image of helping animals and doing your part in society, but not actually knowing the workflow of a clinic? Because that is really important. You need to know the difference between your fantasy and reality in the vet clinic. In the veterinary industry, we have the highest suicide rates, and
compassion fatigue, depression, mental health issues is a very big problem in the industry. And are you willing to put yourself up to these challenges? Because vet school is just the beginning, honestly. I know I'm just in vet school and I'm like giving advice like I'm an 80-year-old person, but yeah, I'm just voicing out like what I've heard from a lot of vets around the industry and what they've been saying. Know the difference. I'm not discouraging you from applying for vet school. If you love vet, like, please, we welcome you with open arms. really welcome you with open arms. It's to save yourself from the disappointment, like if you really like decide not to pursue vet after a shadowing experience, then that's a lot better than entering vet school and 3 years in you're like, hey, this is not what I'm expecting. I don't like being a vet. It saves you a lot of heartache and money, to be honest. So seek advice from your education counselor, from other vets that you might meet along the way.
Editing Jasmine here. So basically the point I was trying to get across is be aware, but don't be afraid. As someone wise in my dairy placement has told me, be aware, don't be afraid. Make that informed decision for yourself. But just know that this is your decision and can't blame anybody else for choosing vet. Just be aware before you make that decision. Yeah.
Anyways, it's time to end off my video. The practical portion ended a bit bleak. I'm trying to end this a bit on a happier note because, like, God knows we all need encouragement and positiveness in this society and world. There's a few things that I want to re-emphasize, basically. Like, if you're applying for undergrad vet school, many students come in with varying experiences, animal experiences and things. You'll get someone who has 4 or 5 years working as a vet nurse and they know every disease. They seem like they know every disease, every symptom. And then there are people who might not have handled a dog before. And yeah, there's like a huge spectrum of people of different experiences. So don't be too discouraged. Please just apply, and vet school prepares you to handle these animals. Like, sometimes they will chuck you in the deep end, but they won't put you in danger. For Murdoch, we do have low stress animal handling exercises and classes, so you could learn along the way. Like, don't be too scared of learning. Don't be too scared of failure, I should put it that way. Failure is part and parcel of life. If you fail, you learn the lesson faster than if you were correct all the time. Anyways, so yeah, like, just apply even if you have no experience. If you have little experiences, I grew up not having pets, not much animal handling experiences. Yeah, and I'm doing fine, I hope, for now. I'm still learning. I'm learning how to handle cattle. I'm learning how to handle bobtails. And I'm learning how to handle dogs and cats. Yeah, people come in with varying experiences. Don't be too scared about that. I'm just going to end off with one of the most important points that I really want to emphasize on, which is the aims of shadowing. The first aim, which is in my opinion the most important aim, it's the deciding factor of whether you want to get into vet school or not, whether you want to become a vet or not. And if you happen to go through this experience and you're like, hey, like, vet is not, but even though I've wanted to be a vet since childhood, I don't want to be a vet anymore. And that's an okay conclusion. This shadowing experience helped you realize that I don't want to be a vet. Cool, it saved you $400,000 instead of realizing it at the end of vet school. It's really great that you can realize that at the end of your shadowing experience if you don't want to be a vet. Of course, you go through like the 5 stages of grief. You're like, oh, it's my childhood dream, I'm in denial, I want to be a vet, I don't care. But at the end of the shadowing experience, like, you happen to be like, oh yes, like, I'm on fire for vet school right now. I really want to get into vet school. That's even better. Like, cool that you realize and understand why you actually like want to be a vet so badly now, instead of saying that since childhood I want to be a vet, because that's like 80% of vet school students' reason of becoming a vet. So yeah, like, now you actually have a tangible experience to base off your conclusion from. And which brings me to the next point, which is the next aim of shadowing. It serves as a inspiration and motivation for to continue your studies, basically. It did serve as motivation for me to finish my A-levels. I did want to drop out halfway through, but I put vet school as my goal. So like, it really just like tunnel vision, man. You just keep on grinding till you get into vet school. Last but not least, it's also to help you gain knowledge of a workflow of a clinic. Every clinic functions differently, don't get me wrong. All this is good to know and good to have a rhythm of, so that when you actually hit into practice, you won't be shell-shocked of, oh no, I don't know what's happening. Like, I have to learn the workflow from the start. that's always really tough. Hope you guys find this useful. It was a really long ramble, and if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm really open to discussion, and certain things, good luck in applying for vet school and applying for shadowing experiences. I hope that it helps you gain an understanding of what animal experiences are for and how to apply for it. Yeah,